Well, while defining the package in the last lecture, we have said that the package contains actually is a container for classes and interfaces which held in names of classes compartmentalized. Now, in this lecture, which will look into what is an interface and what are its utilities and how they can be implemented. So, by definition, what do you mean by an interface? Is essentially an interface is a collection of method definitions and constant declarations. Note that the word definitions. They do not contain the detailed code of the methods and a constant declarations. A class can implement the methods of an interface in any manner. Now the question may arise, why do you need such an interface and what are its utilities? The reason being that, for instance, let's recall the method circle move. Now in this move method, you see there is a code here how the move is being executed. But if you look at from one looks at from outside, it really doesn't matter that how one implements this code. We are only interested in basically there is a method move in the class circle and what are the parameters does it expect. The exact code of the method may not be of relevance to the users of the move method. Similarly, in case of an area, say if we say that is of a square, it's very easy. In this example, you have the length, this is the code, and this is how it is being computed. Now in a more complex situations, when we have complicated methods, it may be the case that only the method name is sufficient. The internal details of the code of the method may be of not much relevance to the user. So or it may be the case that the same method may be implemented in different ways under different circumstances. So better that we do not, or rather we to the user we only provide its interface which only defines what is the method and what are the properties that should go along with this definition so that it can be subsequently used. So that is what we mean by interface. So interface is something it further isolates the code from the user and only gives basically the methods that are of interest. So if you look at a typical example of an interface definition will define its access class, whether it's a public, private, or what is the interface of it. Then we have the different interface and the name of the interface together with then what are the method names, what are the return types of the methods, parameter list, and by the way all the methods here must be of type public. That means they must be available to the external user and that's why we haven't specified any we cannot use anything like private or protected in this situation. And then we have the typical variable, we can have different variable names. Now these are essentially the constants, will be treated as constants. And later on when we look at the new concepts like com or decom, we can think it of and each object has its interface and its detailed implementation. The interface to an object essentially defines how the object can be accessed and what are the methods available for accessing the objects from the external world. And then using those interface methods one can perform operations of the object. Any internal implementation of the objects may be of not interest to the external world which wants to use the object. So let's take an example here which is slightly more complicated than what we wanted. So we defined interface stack of integers. So we want to know that we want to create we have a class called stack of integer and we have two methods available to it which are public. One is push into the stack and pop from the stack. In the previous course on vector data structures, we have seen what is a stack as an abstract data type. Stack is, as we recall that essentially in a stack you have something which points to the top of the element of the stack, which we call the stack top or stack pointer. And what we do, we push the data elements from the top and then take the element out which is at the top of the stack. So if you think it of as a stack as an abstract data type now, it has some operations through which the external world can use. So we can push the element into the stack. This is what is done, push, int is pop. There can be other methods, like say to test whether the stack is empty or not, or something like that. Some other, but we do not want to see how this stack is actually implemented. Whether stack of there will be several methods, as we'll slowly see. We can implement this stack of int in a different ways. We can implement it with the help of an array. We can implement it with the help of sort of linked list structures. But to the external world which wants to use the stack of int, it is immaterial whether you have used array as an array implementation or a linked list implementation of it. So this is why what we mean by a definition of an interface. So the stack as an object, it has this interface. An interface says it has only two methods defined on it. One is that you can push it to the stack and from prop into the stack. I have taken the stack of integer and assuming that only integer values are to be taken, but really this idea can be extended for any data type. So therefore we have an interface which, as I mentioned, is a collection of method names, definitions, not the code. Because the moment we give the code and we have essentially, we have given its implementations, and that's not of interest. And so we have the different method names in the list, and together with the type, variable name, what are the constants that you want to use. Now, but say since these definitions may not be only of interest, we need to have somewhere this idea that this stack of int to be implemented. And the implementation, on the other hand, will be done. Interface is implemented in a class. As I mentioned earlier, that interface, it can be implemented in different ways in different classes. This is very important. So we have the interface, which we can think it of as an abstract data type, and which essentially shows that how to access that particular objects in the object instances of the class, and we can have different implementations which are hidden to the external users. So let's take a simple array implementation of a stack of int. So we say that class array stack implements, this is the keyword, implements stack of int. The interface, as we will see later on, can be treated, will define an abstract, or will define a type. So we can define variables of type stack of int. And now inside this we define two private data types, because we do not want really the content, how this stack of int, how it is implemented, to be accessible to the external world. And so we are defining integer data. So here is an array of int stack, so that means we have the array elements, we have an array dimension, and these are the array elements. So what we are doing, essentially we are keeping a pointer, or rather the index, which is essentially what is the topmost element of the stack, which is the topmost index. And then we have the data is an area, and let's say that we are having a fixed array. We can create a stack of fixed size. The size is the input, and then we note that we are creating an array of size given, which is provided as an input, and we are putting stack top equal to -1, indicating that at the moment there is nothing in the stack. So stack top -1 will indicate that it is an empty stack. So now what we have to do, we have defined the structure, and now we have to define or implement the methods which were there in the public in the interface specifications, such that is the push and the pop operations inside the stack of the stack. And so here we say typical example, implement push operation, public void push. We denote that we are using the public because this method is a part of the interface specification, and therefore it must be public. So public void push integer value, you are trying to push something into the stack, so the value is of type integer, and we said that if stack top, here we have a slight error in the printing, stack top equal to data dot length minus 1, that means we have defined data as an array. This, when with each array, this property will be available, which will indicate that what is the total size or the current element you have allocated for the stack, and which is size. The value says size might be 10 or 15. So from 0 to 15 elements will be there. So if the stack top is equal to the topmost element, it has reached the topmost element, then nothing can be pushed into the stack currently. So system will print the stack is full, no entry possible. Else, first of all, increment the stack. Suppose the current you have allocated 20 elements, and suppose the stack is at the moment at 10. So that means this is the topmost element in the stack, and suppose I want to push 15 here. So what it will do, first increment the stack top so that it points to the next element, so that it is the index is that, and then push right 15 in this location. So you might have currently, so the stack top now becomes, index value becomes what? Equal to 11. So in the 11th location of the array you put 15, which is the value, integer value, and the rest of the elements are, say this is, it might have been, you have already there 12, 20, 15, 16, 18, 42, 21, and say 2. So these are the elements which have been already pushed into the stack. So the stack top was currently pointing to this location. So let's say the number is, in this case not 15, it is 1, 5, is a fifth location, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the sixth location. So in the sixth location we will push the stack top, and stack top will become 1. So this is how they implement the push operation. Similarly, if we do the pop, now if stack top is less than 0, if you remember in our declarations we have said that if stack top equal to -1 means empty. So if stack top is negative, then print stack is empty and return 0. There's no more pop, no, nothing can be taken out. Else, first return the value top. So for example, if I perform pop now, I will get back the value 15, and stack top will now have value after that 5. So that's what we are doing. Else return data located at the location stack top, and then reduce the value of stack top. So that is what has been done here. So you will return the value for 15 and then reduce stack top to 5, so indicating that that is the current top of the stack. So this is a typical implementation of the push and pop operation on a stack, which has been implemented with the help of an array. Really, it doesn't really matter whether external world may not in fact care whether you have implemented it with the help of array or with the help of other mechanisms that we'll shortly see. Similarly, let us try to see that another way the stack can be implemented. This is what we call the dynamic implementation of a stack. So for that, we first define what is with this structure. Those of you who have gone through the C programming must have seen that we can create a stack something like this. Suppose we have a node, which is we call the node of the stack node. Now the stack node, essentially, if we look at this way, we can be thought of a structure like this, which is the value part, and followed by a linkage, something like this. So for example, the same stack could have been implemented this way, that's 2, 21, 42, 18, 16 as 20, and now is nothing is there at the moment. Say suppose we have the 5 elements, 6 elements here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the stack top is this one. This is where the stack top is there. When we try to insert the element 15, what do? We essentially create another node with and then store the value 15 here, link it with the previous node, and mark the stack, move the stack pointer to this. So therefore the stack pointer now no longer points, it will should indicate to refer to this node. So the stack top will now be referred to this value. This is the one way of doing it, or we can the arrow can we can do this. The arrow direction should be like this. The previous element. So this is one way we can look at. So we have the top of the stacks. So if you look at vertically, the stack is still like this. So what we can think it of, this is the lowest element, which is 2, above which we have placed 21, and go on. It can grow as long as you like, and at this moment you have 20 here, and then you are storing the 15 at the top. So this is the stack top. Now here, this stack is dynamic in the sense as we add more and more elements, we can go on adding, provided there is enough memory space available in your program, for your program. So this is why we call it dynamic implementation of a stack. And to do this, therefore, with each stack we define a type of elements of the stack, and the elements are, it contains 2 values. So this is what we are saying, that stack node is something which contains 2 elements. One is the value part or the data, and this is the link. Link to what? Now this element refers to an element of type stack node only. So that is, if there are, this is an one element A of stack node, and there is another element, say B, of stack node, which is say another data 2 values, this data 1 and data 2. Now we can do one thing, we can ask this one to refer to this element. So this is the link field, which refers to node, stack node of this, that is another type of the same type of element, which is stack node. And then we make a simple constructor, the data value is equal to 0. When we create a node initially, we create a node without any linkage, and the data value is assigned to be 0, let's say. Now we say that how does this dynamic stack implements the stack event? Private. So again we define 2 types. These elements are the stack node is a node which is of type stack node, which we have defined, and it has an operation, another data and member which is also refers to a stack node. So there are 2 references to an object of type stack node. Now we define initial creation, stack top equal to null and node is null. So initially what we are saying that these 2, nothing is, the stack is null stack, and so there is no element, no stack top points to null. Next, what do? We have to implement the push and pop operation. So this is a typical code for implementation of the push operation, and to illustrate it, how does it work? Let's take a very simple example. where we want to push an element into an existing stack. That suppose my stack is currently like this. If you recall that the stack node, each node is of type stack node, so it has two values. One is the data it wants to store, and the other is a link field, which is again a reference to an element of type stack node. So these are the two fields of a stack node, data and the link, a link to another element of a stack node. So suppose we have at the moment 4 elements in the stack, in which the topmost element is this one. It's linking to the successive elements, and here the stack node, what we are saying is that top is referring to the topmost element. Now you want to push, suppose I want to push a value, say let us say 73 you want to push. So what I am going to do, according to this code, first of all you create a node with a value 73. So here we are creating, first of all, new stack node. We are creating a new stack node which will have two elements. One is value, where we will store the value, and the other is a link. So what we are doing now, according to this, we create an element stack node, and node now refers to with the element which is referring by node. Now next is we store the node dot data value. So here we store the value 73 which we want to store. And the next, which one it should refer to? This is the topmost element of an stack which has to be pushed into an existing stack. Now this existing stack is this one, which is referred by the stack top. So all we need to do is to make the stack top is the same as the node link. So node now link refers to element of node type. So all I need to do is to make the node dot link value. This is the node dot link refers to the current value of the stack top. So that is being made equal to this, and after that what you need, because now this is the top of the stack, so what we did is that change this one to here. So that means stack top will now refer to this node. This is the typical way. That is now again when a new element comes, it can grow in this direction. Now suppose I have this stack we have already created. Now how do I perform the next other operation is that, so let's look at the pop. So implement the pop operation. Again what we say that are two values it will have to return, and we are defining two internal variables, the previous node and star, which is of type stack node again. And now first of all, if stack node is null, that is if stack node is somewhere here is nothing, then the stack is empty and nothing can be returned. However, as in this example, stack top is currently this, so it's referring to a node which has a value 73. Now what we will do, we'll take this stack top dot data. This stack top dot data is 73, so it will get value 70. So value gets 73 here, and then you print the value, and then previous node. Now what is the next node? Our next node that is node immediately below the stack is this one, which is pointed by or is referred by its link field. So what we do, this stack top dot link, which is referring to the previous node. So we get previous node is node becomes stack top dot link. So therefore this previous node, this will now refer to this one at this stage, and this stack top equal to previous node. Now the present stack top has to refer to this. So all we do now is to change the stack top to refer to this. So basically this stack top value will now be assigned to. So now you see essentially this element has no reference, and therefore it will be automatically the Java garbage collector will eliminate it. So now we have what we have now seen. Therefore the same stack pop and push operations have been implemented in two different ways. In one case we were using a sort of linked list structure in which can dynamic operations, and the stack was allowed to grow or the same shrink according now as we perform push or pop operation. And the other case what we had earlier implementation, we had seen that this is an array implementation of a stack, where essentially you have to allocate appropriate space for the array, and then you go on pushing element into the stack or popping from it. Now let's take an example. How do we use this interface? What is the use? So we have defined interface. We have defined an interface to be, as we have mentioned, in this case stack, and the stack has two operations, push and pop. So what we can do, so when an interface is defined, it can be used as a new reference data type. Like we had a class, so we can itself treat as a new reference data type, and this is example is how do I use stack of int reference. So first we create a variable of type stack of int and access stacks using it. So this is a class stack usage. Here in this program, in this code, what we are doing, stack of int test stack. Test stack is of type stack of int. We can do one way that we can create stack one. Let's see that how it does with the dynamic stack or array stack. In this case, we create a new dynamic stack, and array stack one is of type dynamic stack, and array stack two of type array stack. In this case, we are creating an array of size 15. And let's say use the first one. What we do, stack one equal to test stack. So using dynamic stack, push elements into the stack. So we are first of all, what we do, we go on for each of the 10 elements, we push I per operations and print the stack elements. We go on pushing and then pop the elements into the test stack dot pop. Now in this situation, which of the implementation it will use? It will use the dynamic stack push and pop operations that we have just now seen. So it is this code which will be used, push and pop, since test stack now is a dynamic stack. Similarly, if you use array stack, again we in this situation we will be pushing and popping into an array or stack when it is implemented as an array of stacks, as an array of elements. So here also we are using the push and pop operations which were defined in the array implementation of a stack. So this is a typical simple example in which we have shown two different ways the same interface can be implemented, and how the corresponding operations which were defined to be in the interface are implemented. One should remember that all the methods that are declared in the interface are public in nature. Next, we look at how like we have defined inheritance for classes. It is possible to define interface hierarchy of interfaces, and that is you can define as another interface which extends the existing interface. So an interface can inherit another interface by the use of the word keywords extends. If you remember, for a class also use the word extends when we define the subclasses of it. Now if a class say Z implements an interface say Y that inherit from another interface say X, then Z must provide implementation of all methods of Y including those inherited from X. So suppose I have this interface Y which has a super interface from which it is which is in the interface X, both are interfaces, Y has extended X. Then if a class, as we have mentioned, that is a class which implements the interface, if a Z is another class which aims to implement Y, then it must implement all the methods that Y has inherited from X, including those and plus those methods which are defined extra in Y. So again, interface hierarchy is independent of class hierarchy. This is very important, and that is how in fact we will be able to implement multiple inheritance using interface. So to illustrate this point again as interface, say suppose I have interface X, we have two methods, void method 1 and in method 2. There are two methods in interface X, and suppose interface Y extends X. then y inherits method 1 and method 2 both from x. This is one has to remember, plus you can define extra method in y. So, method 3. Now, if I use z, class z to implement methods of y, we can do this way, that class z implements y. In that case, it must provide implementation of this method as well as this method. So, public void method 1, this is the code. Similarly, public void int method 2 and public float method 3. So, all these implementation class z must include implementation of all this code. So, we can see therefore, like the class case, we can define an interface hierarchy of interfaces and then use classes to implement these interfaces. And again, the interface hierarchy has nothing to do with, is basically independent of the class hierarchy. Now, this in fact helps us in allowing multiple inheritance to be implemented, although as I repeat, when I have mentioned earlier that the Java does not support multiple inheritance. In fact, it only supports single inheritance. So, let us see how this happens, this typical support, how multiple inheritance can be implemented. Let us say that, interface in there can be used to add multiple inheritance. How? Say we know that in the multiple inheritance in class or classes, what happens? We can have a class which has multiple parents. So, in this example, class D and has parents class C and class B, and which in turn have class A as a parent. So, therefore, class D can inherit properties from class C as well as class B. Now, it directly using class hierarchy, we cannot implement it. However, what we can do is very simple, is that first of all we define this interface class A. So, realizing into interface how this is done. So, first we define class A as interface as class A and interface class B which extends class A. So, therefore, we have this is an interface hierarchy. Hierarchy in the first case is that we have the class A interface and which is extended by class B. And suppose we have class C, this is really now a class, this implements class A. That is interface class is implemented by class A. Now, what happens? Now, class C therefore contains the codes for all the methods which are defined for in class A. And then we say define another class called class D which extends class C. Now, it is a inheritance hierarchy. Mind it, this is a class. And so, therefore, what happens? We have a class here and this class C, class D now implements class C. So, we have class C, this is a single inheritance, and here we have class D which is which essentially inherits from class C. Now, you can see therefore implements class B and class C both. In this case, implements class B and extends class C. So, therefore, this is inheritance, this is a class A is a hierarchy, and plus it implements class B. So, what happens now? It will contain all the methods of class B plus all the methods of class C, which in fact was supposed to have been done here. So, in this case class B contains methods of class C and as well as class B. Now, what we did We first of all implemented the methods of class A in class C. It treated it as an interface, treated this as an interface, and then implemented all the methods of class B here, and inherited from class C, which were implemented, which implemented class A methods. Alternately, we could have done this way. We can define both C and B and C as extension of interface class, interface of A, and then implement both the methods of them in D. So it is an indirect way of by which class D now captures or represents has the code for all the methods that are available in class, both class A, B and C. So therefore, class BD in the normal multiple inheritance, class D would have inherited both the codes or all the methods of class C and class B. Here we have done it in an indirect manner. Now one may ask the question, what happens if there is a name conflict? Now this can be handled in Java with the concept of exceptions that we have said. So therefore, we can say that in my interface class B, we can define method 1, it will throw an exception 1. Interface class C, we also define method 1. Now when class D implements both these two interfaces, then, and we define the code for method 1, then since there is a exception clause here, so if there is any problem in class B due to the method that has been implemented, an appropriate exceptions will be raised, which can be handled appropriately. So therefore, what we have now seen that interface, the idea of interface provides a very elegant mechanism of hiding the details of the code. Not only that, the methods, one has the option of implementing the methods in a different manner in different classes, and also we can also create an interface hierarchy of interfaces to be where the inheritance mechanism is somewhat similar to this similar to the class inheritance schemes. And however, when we try to implement the methods of an interface which has inherited methods from another interface, then all the methods must be implemented in the class which implements the the interface which is lower down the hierarchy. So this in fact concludes our discussions on the inheritance, basically the classes, the inheritance, the method invocations, as well as what is the concept of interface and how does it help in providing or introducing new data types, reference data types, and all of which can be packed together in one package.